Hello and welcome, everyone. Today is October 9th, and this is the HCD robustness test meeting. We had, I already read the notes, and they are very. Someone did a lot of work, so I would like to really thank Ahmad for doing. He unfortunately has conflicts. Usually, but I see today Ahmed, you were able to join. But yeah, this is awesome. Like awesome to see the results. Let me just check if yeah. So high level, usually during the meeting we go through the failures and we discuss them and try to triage them. But I mean, it's, um, it's great to also like it's not something that we need to do during the meeting. It's just like to make sure that there is a backlog of things done. And thank you, Ahmed, for taking your time to do it early for us.
No
And
problem.
even more interesting, yeah, even more interesting is this. This is like I'm really impressed by this. Thank you. So you found a dashboard that give us performance view into the Kubernetes Pro jobs. And I think this is something that we were missing. So um, there was this process. I don't know. We started the process of moving from GitHub Actions to Pro, and it I mean started in we slowly like moved depending of type of job we started moving it. And one of the things we lost was that, in the GitHub Actions, they're ready, people prepared ready workflows that analyze performance of your workload and give you a report. And we didn't uh, have knowledge how this is done, or we haven't followed up and talked to still to release team. And you see, we got the Eng prod team. So with that, I think we should. This is something that we should share with community, that we can see the jobs for the project. These Grafana dashboards are, and they're really great, and also we can see the resource usage. And I think we should we should raise this and show to broader community and document. Possibly there is we have a section about documenting. I know. I think testing flakes or something like this. Maybe in the same section we can document how we can debug the Kubernetes Pro jobs. Would it be okay for you, Rahma? Would it be interesting, like to at least posting this issue or?
I mean, there's no problem, but what, excuse me, what should I say?
I mean, like, so this is something like some, I know, this is part of the idea that we are going from tools that are maybe more better, wider used and wider documented, to tools that are, I know, self-hosted Kubernetes tools. And it means that there is a lot of there are a lot of like knowledge sharing that needs to be done and documentation that we need to be done to ourselves. So like from contributor perspective, I think it's pretty useful for everyone to know where to find those dashboards and how to find them, and also who to reach out. Like I think we talked. I don't think you know, but it would be good to reach out. Who is I know on like what is the good channel to reach out about those things? Uh, I can like if it's okay, I can just create an issue. Um, if you're okay with like working on like documenting your experience, but that would be good. Or if you want to do it yourself, that would be good. But I would want to like make sure that um, this
It's
is.
fine. I mean, you can go ahead and create the issue. I will join implementing that issue
Mhm.
later. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
sure. So let's create an issue with type. I mean documentation. We document how to debug performance of a project and during one of the um, or robustness tests we note area uh, um, um, to I know Kubernetes. Who did you reach out to? Protein? Interesting dashboards and found interesting dashboards. Um, 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 okay. So you mentioned you want to. I know maybe you will contribute, so I can assist you on it. I would want to also know CC James. James and who I forgot who's I think there is one I need to Ivan he is really active in uh, maybe we should create lists for areas because yeah I read most of the issues, so I know what areas people are interested in. But maybe like Kubernetes, maybe we should start having groups of email or mailing groups of lists where people can subscribe to topics. Um, yeah, so this I mean, document. Yeah. Odd. So high level. Yeah. I think you triaged most of the issues. I checked out the date, and I think it should cover last 2 weeks, a part of today. There are two more failures. Or I looked just before the meeting on if there's any more failures. There are two failures today. I don't think those were added by you, but yeah, but they are also performance based. Yeah, so this is GPS. So we need to. Yeah, we could say that the triaging the issues is done or the failures on the QPS issue. On the QPS issue, I'm still trying to think if this is like if CPU, like you mentioned, you looked at the CPU and this is like the job, and yes, it look uh, if we look at resource usage for this execution, this like we allocate, I know, 14 gigabytes, but we use, I know, 2 gigabytes of memory. That's okay. And CPU, there is not definitely no throttling on CPU. So there is like no visible performance, at least on those, jobs. There is no visible performance bottleneck. I'm still thinking if there's a issue of I/O. So basically, if mm, so defrag or the only correlation that we have is that the TPS started flaking like this is like not zero amount of flakes. I think we, for example, we had lower number of flakes in previous cases before we introduced the defrag. So I'm so there's two things. Either defrag is very costly and we cannot like we need to reduce its frequency, or defrag causes a lot of disk writes and there is a bottleneck on disk, and it's a question, how do we use disk, or what kind of disk is it? Because one of the common problems with HCD is you need to have a production ready HCD. You really need to have SSD. That's a sad story for it. Unfortunately, the Diebold database that we use to serve reads and is mostly reads is random access. There is no sequential like any sequential property of scanning, so we just memory map it to um, we memory map a bit tree to memory memory map the bit tree, and then read like go through a tree which can be pretty unordered and get random access, and this can be killing, or this is very not very great for standard disk. And I'm just thinking like, what's the easiest way to mitigate it? And I think at the end, the easiest way to mitigate it would be to I think reduce number of defrags. Or because like how do we ask if they have, or first it's hard to measure on Kubernetes at least a disk performance. Um, the reason is depends on how it's mounted, like, or if it's not mounted, it would be just a boot disk, and boot disks are not very performant. And if we, and I don't think, and in Kubernetes do we, or that would be interesting investigation. If at any point in Kubernetes do we test infra, do we use disks at all? This is that was a good directory. Yeah. So here configurations of ordered jobs in Kubernetes. Mm, is GitHub good at it? I mean, with some CSI driver, but this just looks for file names, which is not very good. How I would need to have an open code base. Okay, that would be just the one angle that I would look into it. I can take it. I don't know if Ahmed, you want to look at it. I can look at the. I can try to read the if there is other case of disk usage. So I can try to check. Are there any pro jobs disk? Because I mean, if there is none, then we need to reduce frequency. Does it make sense?
I mean, yes, but I have another suggestion. Maybe we can remove the QPS from throwing an error, and instead we measure it and maybe create a benchmark result or something like that. So basically, let's just use QPS as a benchmark on how uh, did etcd does how etcd does when I mean these scenarios and
Um, so my main worry with this is that this is if we don't make a strict verification at that point, this becomes a metric as a that is a side effect from the test that no one will take a look, no one will verify, and no one will. We will not care if it fails. So if we make it a benchmark where we will see the over time changes in the benchmark. Now at least we can see the flakiness. I mean, it's not great, but still, like the number of flakes here is I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 or 11 failures in jobs that I know. You know how many jobs, like those are jobs for last 2 weeks, and there's I know how many tabs, 1, 2, 3, or whatever. Mm, five jobs, at least five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs, which means we have below like 16% flakiness. I mean, it's like it's question is it a requirement? And I know in many cases, or I stumbled in a couple of cases on regressions that without the strict requirements, the test didn't do anything. Like we lose this ability at all. Like we lose the ability to do any verification if we don't guarantee the QPS. In the previous like goals, have been much higher. Like the previous goals for QPS, I remember at the beginning where we were reaching, I know, 200 QPS on all the full test, not even like the starting of it. Now we only measure the QPS just before ingesting a fail point, which means we we already have lowered the requirements. I think at least two or three times than it was before, and now we are. It's a it's a valid point that we should ask ourselves: is it why do we need QPS, and is it a worthy metric? But for the periodic tests, we should have a guarantee that the tests are healthy. I mean, to give you maybe this, I mean, it reminds me of the GK scalability or Kubernetes scalability tests, where we have both. Each test validates some of we each test dash. I always dash. We measure both signals, quality signals from the test, each test, and we have a dashboard on. If you know, just double check if you can see. Yes, we measure over time the performance of Kubernetes, so someone can see what if there is a regression, slow regression. But this is not enough if that because we cannot. It's not stable enough metric, like running once a week, and there is enough regression that can happen that it's really hard to get a notion of, I know, no one would care if it's just a dashboard. What the signal is for, I know, 5,000 node, like GK Kubernetes maintaining scalability. The signal comes from the test itself. That test measures an SLI, not only measures SLIs and export those metrics, but the test will fail if the metrics goes below something else. So I think we need to we are in a not great position that we don't have such a dashboard, so we cannot easily observe over time regressions in QPS in tests, which would be a, I know, great improvement. And I hope that maybe I'm trying to at some point we will revisit as a community the effort to have a performance regression dashboard. So have something like PerfDash, or even exactly the same PerfDash, just integrate with it, so you can view the regressions over time, uh, and see or view the metric over time. But we will still need to have some limit. Like if we didn't hit 100 QPS, the question is why we didn't, or like 100 QPS, because 100 QPS should be very like small compared to everything. So
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, and that's the whole point. And just decreasing the QPS doesn't make any sense to me. We can decrease it and it will solve the current problem, but maybe in future we will have the same problem again. I mean, you're right. The first step, I think we should ask about the disk statistic from the test infra team to find out what is the situation of the disk. I mean, uh, is it a good disk? I mean, is it a SSD? Is it M2? I mean, what is it? And maybe we can go from there.
oh man, it's definitely like boot. I can easily give you an answer. It's definitely uh, I assume it's definitely a AZD. The reason is SSDs are very like and SSDs are very costly in cloud, like at least persistent SSDs, and M2s are even absurdly costly on cloud, like absurdly costly on cloud. So this is definitely and even normal disks, if allocated for no reason, would be additional costs. So for infra, so they definitely don't mount any disks if don't not requested. I would consider, or my conclusion is that if not, we should consider lowering. We should lowering QPS for defrag, or we should consider separating the tests with defrag enabled to run with lower or none QPS requirement. If we cannot, like, it's still I mean, we are looking at different possibilities, but we should still remember what is the root cause, and there was no random factor that caused this. It was changes. Like, I mean, if we had a dashboard to track regressions, uh, let me link the dashboard per dash. If we had such a dashboard, it would be nice to track them. But if not, we should still remember last change that caused it, and or our as, assumption were what caused this. And I think if I remember still correctly, it started around the time that there was a series of unfortunate series that I added implemented a defrag to etcd, and then this defrag found another inconsistency in behavior, and this inconsistency started to flake, and we couldn't recognize QPS versus this inconsistency, or incorrect behavior, or like a bug in the watch. So to be direct, there's a bug in watch, so we couldn't do it, and for a long time it was not tackled, and at the end we ended up in a situation where QPS is not enough, um, but it was hidden for a long time because of other flakes. So yeah, I think my high level intuition is we are pretty blind on what is happening and what influences the QPS, and I think we should mitigate it as described, but we should think about investing in some minimal way to track QPS regression. Unfortunately, there is one of the problems with open source, there is no good tools, no tools well integrated, or it's hard to integrate tools for continuous observability of CI jobs and measuring regressions, because it's very custom and very late day, like day free operations is very something that people invest in very long time or never invest into it. So there is not a lot of tooling in open source. Part of that is just a creation of, Googlers for that cared about scalability thing. And the previous project I investigated for performance regressions, or like things like or tracking metrics over requests, was also built by Google. So there is no tools for this other than built by Google that I know of or were useful. And now when we migrate to Pro, it will be even harder to do something find something that's well integrated out of the box. I think the it historically it would be easier to have it on GitHub workflows, because maybe someone then could find something, or we could build something generic, or but now on Pro it might be harder. So that's why I'm like slow. There is a separate effort to track over time HCD performance, and I'm pushing them, like people to for asking people to maybe integrate or build something like this. I think we'll just integrate. Okay. I think we lost Henry or Ahmed. Sorry, Henry was. Uh, okay. Maybe just for recording, let's move forward with some announcements. We had data whatever. Oh, we found a bug that can cause data inconsistency. Data inconsistency bug. It's a very unique scenario that happens in API that looks like was created but no one used, and it's very easy to reproduce, but very absurd fact that we didn't that we missed it. I think the reason was that it was just not used by anyone. Like the original design for API was how it was encapsulated, added a method that or exposed a field that was not very is not very useful, but still we expose it, and there, if you use this field, in some cases it can cause inconsistency, but the result is that no one, or we don't think anyone is affected, but we still need to fix because we expose it. I also created a couple of issues to create robustness tests. And and there already have a couple of people interested in it. So if anyone is interested in helping, please take a look. Maybe I can mark this has an assignee. This should have a help wanted. Help wanted. Here there is an assignee, and yeah, and also I tried to fix the one of the. Um, hey, Ahmed, welcome back.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi just died, and also my backup Wi-Fi just died too.
Oh, no, maybe you should think about blast radius, or some quorum-based solution. Um, okay. So yeah, just to cut you up, I wanted to, for video event, just note a couple of things. I added links to 4 bugs. First is there is a new data inconsistency bug. That was reported by contributor, and then Benjamin has triaged it and confirmed that there is inconsistency. There is ongoing discussion. It was there was a discussion during a community meeting, and yeah, it's pretty. You can read the details. It's not very serious, but it's learning, definitely a learning point for community, and definitely we can take on things. From it, I remember that we have a lot of opened, or the easiest way to find an issue for everyone is usually we have, if there is a serious issue or like at least inconsistency being taken, we take inconsistency seriously, so they are usually pinned. You can find it on the always pinned. But I noticed that there is a lot of pinned historical correctness issues that were resolved, but they were just missing something. And the main thing they were missing is robustness testing. So I have created, I think, free issues to add robustness test to some scenario for your tool. Let's see too. For this is for water dropping. This is for revision to reads. Oh, and watch. Yeah. So this is free. I know which number I lost. And this is free two, free two. Oh, 8281. Okay. So this is also some new contributor wanted to grab the issue, but he might need more help. If, yeah. So there are three issues to take a look. I usually they don't go fast. People grab them, but uh, if there is no progress, maybe we can ask if they're or collaborate on some things. And yeah,
Of course, no problem. I'll take a
yeah.
look at.
Mhm. If you're interested, and one of those things is to cover the known. One of the issues is to cover it with robustness. That's the current uh, correctness issue to cover it. Yeah, I also have taken a look into the log finally into the logs and try to implement a fix, and it doesn't work. I don't, and I'm not sure why. So I need to still investigate it. The idea that I had is, oh, the logs are broken because when we first create a subtest that is, I know, some scenario, and then we create a cluster, and then just for this cluster we generated some random fail point, and we add this fail point name to the test. But this is basically creating a subtest. So we have three layers of subtesting, and this is like easy because we pick a file, like it's expected that, oh, we have a main test, we have a dynamic list of subtests, so we need to have a for loop and it needs to be a subtest, so we call a subtest. But then the fact that we have a subtest and to have a cluster running, uh, and also this cluster is like, for this cluster we use logger from based on the current test. So for this test, this level, so it creates some logs are sent to this test, some logs are sent to this test, and some logs are sent to this test, and this is like a mess. Because when you create I don't really know how it's. I need to maybe read more how Zap knows or which test, or how Golang or even Golang, not Golang, how I think maybe Golang testing framework knows which tests the log belongs to with subtests, and then how it's annotated, and how this is done differently by Zap, because Zap does it also by itself. We use a Zap logger which wraps. There is a Zap testing package. So how this works? That some logs, if we can work around it. My initial idea was, oh, let's generate a random fail point before we create a subtest. And how do we do it? We can just maybe start a temporary cluster just for a second and kill it after to pick the fail point. So I mean, the best solution would be we know what are fail points that we are able to run on specific etcd binaries in class that we plan to, and specific configuration of run in cluster, but this is not always like 100%, or without a dedicated tool in the fail point package we don't, it's hard to predict. So the easiest way to do it is just to run it for some time, and even like but apparently this doesn't work. And I thought it, if it doesn't work, it should be easy to debug, but the answer is no, it's not easy to debug, because for some reason this breaks pro page in rendering the logs, because or rendering which test failed, which not, and how many logs are generated, because this page will crash in a couple of seconds because there are so many logs generated that I have no idea why there is more than normal logs generated that cause this page to crash, because it tries to fetch so many logs. Yeah, and it's already like barely hanging out, so Chrome is panicking for me. So yeah, I think I will attempt it. I just figure out one more idea. Maybe I'll try to debug it and fix it. But hopefully for the next meeting, maybe we'll have properly working logging.
Okay, I'll take a look at that too. Maybe I can share some ideas. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I'll just try to keep it. Talk about it first. Visibility. So if you have idea, yeah, if you have idea, that would be also awesome. Yeah, we have pretty unique setup for testing and logging and how they're passed. So it's not always what we do is not very aligned with the, or we are using Golang testing framework to just run tests and get a success or failure. But the way we are using it is not 100% aligned with idea of testing and how it's passed. So maybe there is something obvious that we are just like we could remove some friction. Uh, yeah, but so more people looking at it should go further. And I think that's all from me for the meeting. Do you have any questions, Ahmed?
Uh, to be honest, no, I don't have any question right now, but thank you. If I do, I
Okay.
will ask you.
Yeah, don't worry. That's yeah, we can just finish early. Yeah, so high level, the goal would be I will take a look and maybe ask also people if there is a solution with disk. If not, I will try to change the lower the QPS amount. I would want to do it myself because the problem with changing QPS is that it needs to change. You need to change scenarios, and changing scenarios is not for testing is not easy, because it can easily cause it. If we increase number of scenarios, that will increase number of tests, which increase time of tests are running, and can easily cause timeouts, because we have different places that we hard code number of runs and different place where we hard code the timeouts. So we need yeah, to avoid like maybe I should document it better, but this part is pretty fragile, so I will take a look at it. Yeah, that's all. I think we can finish. So that would be the main, yeah, the main things, and hopefully on the next meeting we also will not have any more flakes. So thanks, Ahmed, for taking your time. Hopefully, your issue with internet is resolved and you will not get unlucky.
Thank
And
you very
hope
much.
yes, to see you on the next meeting. See.
See ya. Uh, have a nice
Yeah, have a nice week. You too.